Hopefully this year, EIA UK can offer even more beneficial programs for the public, especially as we have recently formed a new executive board. Please allow me to mention one by one because this is the Lebaran of EIA UK. First, I would like to introduce Nuha Konita from Exeter as our head in Islamic Community Development, Islamic community-based development. That's very exciting field. And then we have she also the head of our scientific board, and then Fahmi Yunus as the head of social and hybrid finance, Islamic social and hybrid finance, and then Fauzia Rizki Yuniati as the head of Islamic sustainable development, and then Karina Tumewang as our head of our commercial Islamic finance studies, and then Nita Yalina as our head of innovation and entrepreneurship, Islamic innovation entrepreneurship, and also Sabik Mustafa, the one who read the Quran beautifully. He is the head of Islamic economic philosophy and thought. And then we also have Muhammad Kamiluddin as the head of Islamic work ethics and productivity. In the secretariat, we've got me, myself, as the chairman, and also we've got Vita Arumsari as the Secretary General of EIA UK. We've got Miftahul Janah as our treasurer, Muhammad Akbar Fakhrul Rahman An-Nahal as the exterior director, and also Sarimin from Cardiff as our interior director. In management program, we've got Mbak Vinda Luciana as the head, and also Zakia Ramadanti Siregar, Happy Fabrina Haryani, our moderator today from Coventry, Muhammad Yusuf Ridwan from London, if I'm not mistaken, and also Mas Armensyah Lubis from Manchester, from London, sorry. And then we've got Indah Permata Suryani from media and also public engagement management as the leader. And Mas Imam Fakih Utomo Aji from Dundee, the student of Prof. Ali. We've got Mas Zemil Prabowo from Coventry, which is already in Indonesia right now. We also uniquely have our associate graphic designers today who joined our internship program, and we've got Mas Sabit Kolbi, Nadia Rahmalina, Aldi Saputra, and Muhammad Nagir. And then in relationship and network management, we've got Mas Muhammad Faris from Leeds as the leader, Hairunisa from Sussex, and then Nuraini Yuwanita Wakan from Cambridge, and also Muhammad Rizki Radityawan from London. In research and development management, we have Kang Wahyu Saripudin from Exeter as the leader, Adi Rahman Ibnu from Birmingham, Kamala Putri Ayunda from Sheffield, but already in Indonesia right now, Mbak Acit, Mbak Astrid Fiona Harintias from Durham, and also Mas Azizon, Uda Azizon from Birmingham. The last one from Human Research Management and Development, we've got Mbak Dian Nuria Sorisa as the leader from Coventry, Mbak Iva Hafiza from London, and also Mbak Adila Azani Amanda, who used to be in Manchester, but she is now in London right now. We also would like to express our deepest gratitude to everyone here in EIA UK. Thank you, terima kasih banyak sudah membesarkan, menghangatkan, memperkaya, dan memperindah keluarga besar EIA UK. Until today, Jazakumullah khair. Thank you, Mas Faris, as well, and the team for your hard work in organizing this event so professionally, allowing us to enjoy today's intellectual discussion. We hope that today's theme reflects EIA UK's critical and multidisciplinary approach. That's our academic culture. Hopefully, we are trying to build that. Within our organization, we've got so many researchers and practitioners who are very critical in seeing Islamic economics and also have a very deep concern with environmental, social, and governance issues. With over 800 registrants today, that's a remarkable number. We hope that today's discussion will ignite thoughts and action that lead to meaningful change. We seek to your prayer and support so that EIA UK can run smoothly and be full of blessing this year. With reciting Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, I hereby declare the commencement of the EIA UK Administration 2025-2026. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mas Rizky Rizaldi, for the enlightening speech. If any of the participants have questions or opinions related to EIE UK's program, you can contact any committee member introduced before by Mas Rizky. And so, before we move to the main session, I want to share an exciting information for you. We provide giveaway for 5 best Instagram stories related to this event. So you can upload any documentations or notes in your Instagram stories. And don't forget to tag our Instagram account at EIAE_UK. Don't hesitate to participate and take the chances of winning this special book from us. And I would like to remind you that at the end of the session, we will provide you a link to claim the certificate. So stay tuned until the end of the session and pay the attention to the chat box. And now, without further delay, we have come to our main agenda, the seminar session. All presentations and discussions will be moderated by our moderator, Mbak Happy Febrina Haryani. And for all attendees, you can prepare the best questions to ask directly or through chat box at the end of the session. Allow me to read short bio of our moderator. Happy is a program officer of the AIA UK. Currently, she is a postgraduate researcher at the Coventry University. So, Mbak Happy, let's welcome our moderator, Mbak Happy. And after this, Mbak Happy will lead the session for the main agenda. The time and place is yours, Mbak Happy.
Thank you very much, Mas Ridwan. Hi, good afternoon. How are you?
Hello, good afternoon here in Indonesia.
Okay, I'm really excited today. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A warm good morning from the UK to all of you, wherever you are joining from. I hope you are all doing good. Alhamdulillah alamin. Wabihi nasta'in ala umuri dunya wa din. Salatu wassalamu ala asrofil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrahli sadri wa yassirli amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli amma ba'du. A warm welcome to all our distinguished speakers and respected participants. We're truly honored to have such incredible experts with us today, ready to share their insights and perspective on this fascinating topic. My name is Happy Febrina, and I'll be your moderator today. Ladies and gentlemen, before we dive into our session, just a quick reminder, please keep your microphone on mute and turn your video on so we can all engage freely. We'll kick things off with the panel session featuring Dr. Media Wahyudi Askar from CELIAS, Center of Economics and Law Studies, followed by an insightful session with Professor Alia Avtukic from the University of Dundee School of Business. And of course, we'll wrap up with a Q&A session, so get your question ready. You can raise your hand or type your question in the chat box, and make sure to address who your question is for, as we have two speakers here. But before we begin, let's capture this moment with a group photo. Well, everyone, please turn on your cameras, please. Right? We have more than 300 participants here. So I'm going to start with the first page first. Okay.
Wait, Mbak, wait.
1, 2, 3.
Can you turn off the
Okay.
screen first so we can have more? Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
sorry. Yeah. Okay, we can start with the page one. One, two,
Okay.
three.
Smile.
We actually have more than 20 pages here. So the next one, please. One, two, three. Smile. The next page. Okay. Well, I think the rest of the pages has already been captured. Right, Mas Faris? Okay,
Okay.
got it? Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mas Faris. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let me begin the session. Allow me to welcome our first speaker, Dr. Media Wahyudi Askar. Dr. Media.
Yep. Hi, Mbak Happy.
Hello, Dr. Media, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, thank you for joining this morning. We are very delighted to have you with us today. So, today's discussion revolves around a truly fascinating and relevant topic, right? Moral, ethics, and economics, unraveling the sustainable development impact of Islamic finance. We know that as the world moves towards sustainability, Islamic finance stands out with its unique approach, blending moral values and also ethical governance. So, in Sharia principles, it champions financial inclusivity, social justice, and also environmental sustainability. So, in this session, we will explore how Islamic finance balances profitability with ethics, ensuring economic progress benefits both society and also the environment. So, sit back, engage, and let's dive into this insightful discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to briefly introduce you to Dr. Media. Dr. Media Wahyudi Askar is a lecturer at Gajah Mada University. He completed his undergraduate degree at Gajah Mada University and holds both a master and doctoral degree from the University of Manchester, United Kingdom. He's also a founder of CELIUS, Center of Economics and Law Studies. So, without further ado, I think, Dr. Media, we're truly excited to hear your insights today. So, please, the time and experience are yours.
Perfect. Thank you, Mbak Happy ya.
Yes.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Uh, Good afternoon, everyone from Indonesia time. It's an honor for me to be here today. And first of all, I would like to congrats for the IAEI United Kingdom. I really hope that this platform serves an opportunity to exchange knowledge, explore innovative ideas, and hopefully strengthen collaboration to drive impactful change. Right, today, according to the TOR, I'm gonna do a presentation related to the poverty. I'm gonna talk about the three key aspects of this issue: ongoing poverty reduction efforts, the impact of inequality in sustaining poverty, and later on, I'm gonna discuss about the alternative financing mechanism that can support poverty alleviation. And one important approach that I would like to discuss today, how Islamic finance, particularly the role of zakat mal, that can serve as a structure form of wealth tax managed by government and in some countries to ensure a better distribution of resources. Right, let me start, and feel free to ask any question and to share your ideas afterwards. Mbak Happy, could you please help me to share the screen?
Yeah, sure, Dr. Media. Wait a
Mas
moment.
Faris. Yeah. Right. Uh, Maybe the next slide, Mas. Right. Allow me to start with this very conventional picture. Uh, I know some of you may already familiar with this graph. And we know that since World War II, most countries around the world have come to use GDP as the main indicator for prosperity. And this is something that we need to discuss even more in the next coming year, whether the GDP is still relevant to measure our development progress. When we talk about the GDP, even Simon Kuznets back in the 1930s said that GDP is not a welfare measure, and it is quite possible that for GDP to go in the opposite direction of welfare. And this is our reality today. When we talk about the GDP, GDP doesn't really reflect the quality of our development. And we know that even GDP includes pollution, crime, the health cost of cigarettes, for example, as a growth to some extent because they generate spending. And we know that even though some countries have higher GDP and economic growth, but they are also suffer from higher level of inequality. Next slide, Mas. This is our reality today. Uh, the level of inequality increased significantly. So those born into wealthy families, they are easily rise to the top. They might receive the best education, the best jobs, and suddenly owning many shares, for example. While on the other hand, children born into poor families are often trapped into poverty. And when we look at this picture, this explain things what happened in the country right now in Indonesia, where the super rich, their wealth increased significantly over the last few years. And some people may say that rich people are lazy. You've heard this term, right? But that's not entirely true, because if wealth were measured by how long we work, then the richest people would be farmers and workers, right? Who work all day and night. And this means that there is a structural poverty in this country right now. Something wrong with our economic structure today. Next slide, Mas. And we've seen that we found in our latest study the wealth of the 50 richest individuals in Indonesia is equal to the total wealth of 50 million Indonesians. Next, Mas. And it's actually, this is a sad moment to say that we might need 133 years to reduce poverty, while in fact in the next coming 6 years we're gonna have the first quadrillionaire for Indonesia. Next, Mas. And since 2020, since the pandemic, the three richest individual has increased more than threefold, while the growth of workers' wages is only 15%. You have seen the debate about this, about the minimum wage in Indonesia is so bad right now. And this is something that we need to figure out in the next coming years. Next, Mas. And this is a funny part of the trillionaire of Indonesia. They talk about the business, the justice of the economy, but at the end of the day, we know that they are not here in Indonesia. They live in Singapore. They know that the weather, the air condition in Indonesia is not that good, so they live a happy life in Singapore. While at the same time, they still run a business, operate in Sumatra, Kalimantan, even in Papua. So this is the sad reality that we have today in Indonesia. Next, Mas. And another story which is quite interesting is that the wealth of ministers in Indonesia increased significantly. So even though the basic salary is not that much, right? But how can we say that their wealth increased significantly? There must be something else happen in the economic structure of today. And in reality, the minister's wealth uh, affiliated with mining business in Indonesia. You know the name already. Who are the minister that strongly correlated with the extractive industry in Indonesia? And this is another data. Even if we work harder and we earn like 15 billion rupiah per month, we still need 142 years in order to have our wealth equal to Gibran Rakabuming Raka, for example. Next, Mas. So why this happened? And this is the another interesting story about the inequality in Indonesia. While the trillionaires affect our public policy significantly at the moment, they run business, but at the same time, they provide input for the government. They run a business association, act as a brokers between foreign investors and the government. And today, you also see that many uh, businessmen, they provide a huge amount of income to the people inside the government as part of the donation, and of course they earn something from these activities. They might not need to pay tax later on. They might get a strong protection from the current government so that they can maintain their wealth. Next, Mas. And this is another story at the moment in Indonesia. You know, like 2 days ago, we have a new special staff under the Ministry of Defense, and he's an influencer. Influencer plays significantly right now in our economy, and they are part of the a strong oligarch, and that can significantly affect the inequality level in Indonesia in the next coming years. Next, Mas. So what should we do then? And we always talk about the budget, and but actually the solution is very simple. We need to talk more about tax, tax, and tax. So the ultra rich must pay more tax. So taxes are not a punishment, you know, they are responsibility. So those who have more should contribute more, right? And with higher taxes on the wealthy, we can build better school, improve healthcare services, and create decent jobs for those in needs. So that's why we propose that the country should promote a wealth tax so that we can earn more money, and then we can use it later on for social protection policy in Indonesia. What can be done? There are a lot. We can build schools, hospitals, we can help disability communities, we can even allocate the money even more for scientific research projects so that the quality of our policy decision making could increase significantly in the next coming years. So that's why we need more money, and then wealth tax is one of the solution. Next, but Next. I don't know how many minutes do we have, but happy for me to present this. Next.
Next.
All right. Next. So what will be the future direction for our economy? And I think the main significant part is that we have to increase our tax ratio, because our tax ratio is currently still one of the lowest in Asian economies, and we need to do better in this part. Next, Mas. Next. So this is our road to fiscal justice, and at the moment we have at least four type of tax: consumption tax, income tax, capital income tax, and wealth tax. And Indonesia, we don't have the wealth tax. And if you look at this table, you can see how unfair our tax policy at the moment. So that's why we don't have enough money to pay for our public services. If you can see here, we have consumption tax, VAT tax at the moment. Ideally, this would be paid by everyone. Income tax should be paid by everyone. But in fact, for income tax, it only pays by the 90% of the communities. So the 90% refers to the workers, like lecturers, workers working for manufacture industries, and so on and so forth. Those are the people who pay for the income tax. But how about the super rich people? They don't pay income tax. You know, if you are a super rich, you don't even need income, right? You only need to maintain your asset. You only need to maintain your interest, and somehow you don't even need to report your income. And capital income tax, they don't really need to pay for it, because if you are rich, you are smart enough to break the system to avoid paying tax. And then in Indonesia, we don't have the wealth tax. Next, Mas. So as the impact, our social protection to GDP is really low right now. So that's why this answered the question why Prabowo cut the budgets. Simply, we don't have enough money right now in our pocket. So this is the sad reality that we've got today. Next, Mas. And the government keeps saying that there is no poor people in the country, only 8% of the communities. But in fact, the data is not correct, unfortunately, because the poverty line in Indonesia is no longer relevant. Even if we use World Bank indicators, we will see that 40% of the people in Indonesia will be categorized as the poor people. Next, Mas. And this is the reality today. We've often seen that the data of the government, I think this is no longer relevant to estimate our poverty at the moment. And what is the impact of this incorrect measures? The impact is that the lower level of the poor people categorized by the government, the impact will be the lower amount of money would be sent to the people, to the poor people. Next, Mas. And this definitely affect the life of the poor people. And at the end of the day, we know that our fiscal is about political transaction. And at the moment, the legislative and executive right now are still discussing our budget for this year. And the quality of our spending is so bad right now because the legislative can only think about the short-term situation, and they might don't really understand what the people really need right now. Next, Mas. Next aja. Next. And next, you know that the government right now focus on the free meal school, and the government would try their best to allocate a huge amount of money for the free meal school. And this is our latest research, and this is basically shown that if we do a universal coverage for the MBG, and we will see that uh, a huge amount of money would be sent, would be enjoyed by the rich communities rather than enjoyed by the poor. So there is a strong concern about the mistargeting issue for this program right now. Next. And we know that this is unfortunately the situation right now. If we look at the current poverty reduction effort, actually one of the best program is the conditional cash transfer, PKH. And the total budget for PKH is only 20 to 30 trillion rupiahs per year. And instead of expand this program, the government rather tried to reduce the money to be allocated for this program. So this is how evidence-based policy is not running well in the country right now. So the government only choose the program that is not scientifically create a substantial impact for the communities right now. Next, Mas. And we've seen that the trend right now around the world, conditional cash transfers are more effective to reduce poverty, but the government has their own idea. Unfortunately, is to try another program that might not really create a significant impact for poverty reduction at the moment. Next, Mas. So I think I'm about to reach the end of the presentation, and this is the most significant part of how Islamic finance can one on one, hand in hand with the conventional banking system in order to reduce poverty and inequality in the country. Next, Mas. And this is an interesting discussion right now. The debate in our internal organization and also with our alliance about the future of Islamic finance and inequality. And we found that zakat is actually a kind of a wealth tax system that can be uh, implemented for the country like Indonesia. Is it possible for us to integrate a zakat mal in and wealth tax initiative in Indonesia? At the moment, we don't have wealth tax system, but actually in Indonesia, we as a Muslim, we pay zakat mal, right? Every year. And there is an opportunity to integrate these two of how, for example, Muslim taxpayers can deduct zakat payment from their wealth taxability, and this can ensure that those fulfilling their zakat obligation do not face double taxation. The government can also manage both of them, zakat mal, and wealth taxation. And surprisingly, our tax rates for zakat mal is around 2.5%. And this is also aligned with the recommendation of the economies around the world that wealth tax should be around 2% of the total asset. And so this explains how beautiful Islam is of about how we together should reduce inequality and reduce poverty in our communities. Next, Mas. And there are some case studies, but this is still need to be discussed, ongoing discussion at the moment, uh, of how, for example, Saudi Arabia create zakat as a state mandated system. Malaysia and Indonesia also have the same structure, and Pakistan create automated zakat collection. But what I want to say right now is that there is an opportunities of the Islamic finance play significant role in improving uh, our funding, our finance in order to reduce inequality. Next, Mas. Next. But this is not easy because the debate is not about the technical stuff, but also from the theoretical point of view. Even though they are the same, but they are actually different, not only from the concept, but also for the aim, for the objectives, and this is also something that need to be discussed later on. I found some paper discussed significantly about the different about the zakat, mal, and wealth tax, but this is a very interesting one that we need to discuss even more in the future. Like a simple message from myself is that zakat al-mal already explain about the idea of wealth tax, about the legal basis, who pays source of taxation, purpose management, rate, motive for payment, flexibility, and impact. So there are similarity between the two, but this is something that we need to, I just want to raise this discussion right now because this is the global initiative as well of how should the government improve the tax, the payment that can be used later on for the poverty reduction. Next, Mas. Right. So hopefully those points could create constructive discussion. Hopefully, I know that so many experts in these communities right now. This is unfinished discussion. Of course, there are many gaps. There are many opportunities. Uh, the government right now really need a fresh idea from the people, right? Like all of us here. I know that it's not easy. Even the idea, constructing the idea, is not something that can be done in 1 or 2 hours. But let's start the discussion and how this can be done as a collective effort. And I would like to raise this and stop in here, and hopefully we can discuss it later on. Right. Thank you, Mbak Happy.
Thank you very much, Dr. Media, for that wonderful presentation. Very interesting. So we still have 10 minutes left, actually. And
Okay.
yeah, so maybe we can discuss a little bit. What I can take here is that there are actually 2 points here about poverty, and also I think the most interesting part is the last one you talk about zakat and also wealth tax. So because I saw the chat coming up and they start asking about zakat and tax. Zakat is not the same as tax, something like
Yes,
that.
yes.
So the first one is about poverty. Poverty is not more than just a lack of money. It's about the absence of the opportunities and also the resources to reach one's full potential, right? So with this wide wealth gap in Indonesia, you talk about the gap between the rich, the super rich, and also the super poor. So, what do you think about this? I mean, beyond the financial aid, what are the most effective strategies to tackle these poverty issues in Indonesia and also ensure this, long-term social and also economic empowerment?
Right. I think at the moment, uh, the government has tried their best to manage our finance. And we know that the government, via the structural system, the conventional banking system, for example, they collect the tax, they give it back to the communities right now. And while at the same time, there are effort outside of the government, of course. We as a Muslim, we do sadaqah, infaq, and zakat more, and the government try to do their best to support these initiatives too, right? And this must be, uh, I know we have to put it in the context that this has to be a collective action. But unfortunately, if we look at the reality right now in our social media, the narrative right now is only talking about the conventional banking system approach, right? The government only promote the idea of, spending the budget, or collect more tax from the people, right? And the government seems to forget that we are one of the largest Muslim communities in the world. There is a strong case that zakat could play a significant role in poverty reduction and in reducing inequality in Indonesia. And we have the former vice president, uh, Pak Ma'ruf. She is the expert on this, but unfortunately, in his last uh, presidency, I don't think he has done well. I mean, like, he did well to put it in the context of uh, promoting recommendation of how the Islamic finance can support the poverty and inequality reduction right now. So this is the no. I just want to put this issue in the context that how can we work together on this? There are huge opportunities and huge gap, of course, and we need an alliance for this. We need an alliance. Hopefully, IAEI can start the discussion, more depth on this, but happy.
Yeah, it surely takes a village to build a country. I mean, like, it needs a collaboration not only
Yeah.
between the policymaker but also the society at large, right? So about the zakat itself. So what do you think about zakat and also wealth tax? We know that there's a high potential for zakat collection, but why does the actual collection remain low, right? So what do you think about the next strategies can be implemented to bridge this gap?
Yeah. Let me talk about wealth tax first. We don't have wealth tax in Indonesia, so still far away. We might need like 10 years to have wealth tax. So this is still a long journey to have the wealth tax, right? So that's the fact right now. But we have zakat mal, right? So we don't even need to wait for 10 years for the country to implement the wealth tax, right? We can really optimize our zakat mal right now to reduce poverty and inequality in Indonesia. And in order to achieve that goals, I think, apart from the scientific support from the scholars, we need to build the data right now. How big the zakat mal can be, promoted, and what would be the impact for the inequality in Indonesia. And unfortunately, not many studies discuss about this because we don't have the strong data. So if we don't have the data, we cannot forecast, right? We cannot really predict how important zakat mal to reduce inequality. But if we calculate it carefully and we got the results, we can bring it to the government, not only the central government, but we can also bring it to the local government, so that the local government can work with the communities. We can work as a collective communities to improve zakat mal. And again, uh, most of my research is about the wealth tax as part of the conventional banking or economic system. And I really want you, everyone here, to do more related to the the significant part of the zakat mal, I guess, to reduce inequality.
Thank you very much, Dr. Media. That was very, very insightful discussion. So, Dr. Media, while you were speaking, many questions pop up in the chat. But
There
hold
are a lot
on.
of questions.
Yeah, a lot of questions. But hold on. Be patient before we
Not
jump
sure whether
into.
I am the one who should answer this question. I think Mas Paris and Mbak Happy and some of us here are the expert too.
Yeah, we still have one more speaker with us.
Yes,
So,
great, great. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So, Dr.
Yeah, yeah.
Media, let me move on to the next speaker first before we jump into the
Yeah.
Q&A session in the last part of the sessions. So, Professor Ali Aftukich, I believe you're already here. Professor Ali?
Assalamualaikum. Yes, I'm with you guys.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, Professor Ali.
Good morning and good afternoon. Assalamualaikum to everyone. Good to see you all and hear you. You're doing well. I'm very much closely following what's happening with the Indonesian Association and also what's happening in the country.
Yeah, I hope you're doing
And I
well.
have also
Thank you for
have a
joining us today. Yeah.
significant number of PhD and master students from Indonesia in Dundee, so quite well equipped what's going on.
Yeah. Thank you very much for joining us today. We're truly looking forward to hearing your perspective on this topic. So, Professor, let me briefly introduce you. Professor Alia Aftukic is a distinguished professor of political economy and Islamic finance at the University of Dundee School of Business. He earned his PhD in Islamic economics and finance from Durham University. I think many of you may already be familiar with his work. So, without further ado, Professor Ali, the screen is yours, please.
Will I be able to share my slides?
Sure, you can. Please.
Do you see my slides or not, guys?
Yes, perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So, guys, good morning, everyone, and good afternoon, or salam alaikum. Thank you very much for this opportunity for inviting me. It's a big topic, and I think this will be ongoing debate. I was listening to uh, Brother Askar, and I listened also to the director of the association. The perspective, and this is the discourse that I think something that I really have to appreciate Indonesian students and your society, because these are the enormous efforts that you are giving towards Islamic economics, Islamic finance, social finance, and other things. And I have to say, 50 years ago, in initial discourse and development of Islamic economic theory, we didn't have finance at that time. Primarily, the contribution to that field was coming from the subcontinent, and I mean Pakistan and India. But I have to say, now in the most recent time, the main developments and the focus comes from Indonesian students in that particular area. And I can see even the number of participants in this seminar is above 300. And I don't think so that even any university, if they organize any kind of event, they can reach even 200. And we all know that. So I want to congratulate you on this and for the shaping the discourse of Islamic economics and finance. In that regard, I will focus in this presentation basically on the two papers that have been already published available. They are both of these most of these papers that are available. It's contributed by Indonesians again. So the hierarchical objective or Makassar framework as an augmented framework for creating the ethicality. Its work, collective works, which started in 2015 by I think Fiona, no Astrid, or Indonesian student, and then others who followed. But latest into 2021, we managed to put much more larger sample and more detailed analysis how the ethics can be played. Yes, please. Oh, it's not to me. I thought it's the question.
No
So this
problem.
paper, and then I would like to follow up what Oscar was talking about development and the growth, but I want to also show my data and the sample. So there's another paper. So bear with me. Yes, there will be some things that might be familiar to you, but I'm trying to make the story that economics as a main focus here, Islamic finance as a tool was to deliver human-centric development, changing of the quality of the life. And I will use another measurement in addition to what Oscar was mentioning, the GDP. I will go to the Gini coefficient on equality of the life as well as HDI, distributional equality, and HDI as a measurement of the welfare or general quality of the life. To show what are the impact of Islamic finance as a tool on these two particular areas. At the same time, because the topic is the ethics, so I want to see how much we are contributed as Islamic financial institution, in this case we are talking about banks, towards delivering the ethicality, that you are setting the standards that could be followed in the real life. So why do we need that? Where does it come from? We have to see, acknowledge the growth of Islamic finance in last 40 years. Yes, there is a significant impact. Most of the country, more than 82 countries. I think we are talking about 5 trillion nowadays. I'm not sure what is the latest data, but that is the story. But the question is whether we are fulfilling the promises that founding fathers in the 1950s, that yes, there is a neoclassical version, there is a model, they have their own agenda, they have their own institutional logic that they want to implement, and then you come with the prefix of Islamic. And my question is always, what does this Islamic means? And if I'm going to narrow it to the avoidance of riba or gharar, but these are the legal requirements. In every single country, you have to follow the law. But law and ethicality does not mean same thing. I can take somebody to hospital without driving license is absolutely ethical because you are saving the life, but at the same time is illegal because you shouldn't be driving. So these discussions now, when you impose the legal requirements, that does not mean that you are at the same time fulfilling the ethicalities. So that's where we are looking into Islamic finance. And one of the more areas, and I hope that will be in the future more discussion, is focus on entrepreneurship and halal industry as a driver of innovation and ethicalities. Whether me as a businessman endorsing the fiqh rules or endorsing the taib rules or endorsing the akhlaqi rules, so that will create the new innovation and the drives in the society, is something that should be also considered and observed, whether we created as a result of endorsing our principles new innovations in that sense. But that is not the topic of today. So another issue that we can see is increased financialization. Yes, if I say that the assets of Islamic banks went 20%, usually question should be, what does that mean? Practically, will my life will be better? Will I have better roads? Will I have better schools? Will I have better of what? Or it will only translate again like in a neoclassical, only shareholders will have more money. So we are still creating money out of the money. And therefore, another critique that we have also observed is organized tawarruk, which leads to financialization per se. And hence, the whole structure of economy that we are witnessing in the Muslim world is very much increasing the indebtedness, which I have a personal problem with that. Neoclassical will not have it because they will tell you need to have a credit. More credit, that means will be more money in the circulation. Yes, that is a good assumption, but that is really against the principles of Islam. Islam is not about saving the money, it's always about spending, because there is no single reference anyway in any ontological sources, Quran and Sunnah, reference to the saving is always about spending. And the whole concept and theory of infaq is well established. Hence, spending creates or stimulate the aggregate demand. It increases the economy, but that is a problematic. Even the Prophet himself, he was seeking the protection from the debt because that creates additional burdens and implications. And therefore, even zakat element goes to the people who are al-gharimin, who are indebted. Now, another issue is we have all these beautiful axioms of Islam, Tawheed, Rububiyyah, Tazkiyah, which are the hardcore of Islam. Riba is a just legal requirement. You shouldn't have a riba in your transaction, full stop. And we abide by that. You shouldn't be driving, you shouldn't be on the phone while you're driving. It's a legal requirement, full stop. But here is about Tawheed, but there are other things when you are driving, you shouldn't be using this and that. These are not legal requirements, but that comes that ethicality. But Islam is about Tawheed. In implementation of these axioms, which are always true, concept of Tawheed, La ilaha illallah, vertical and horizontal equality of the people towards the resources, is something that will not change whether you are Indonesia or Saudi or UK according to Islam. But we can see how the translation of interest or riba could be understood in different times and procedures. Very simple question that I always ask Sharia scholars. All your fiqh, classical fiqh that we know, is written on gold and silver. We don't use that anymore. So implication of the fiat money is absolutely new agenda that brings discussion here. Without going too further, I just want to show you this something that you probably have seen Professor Mehmed in Durham. He quite often use, and I like this slide when you are talking about reality. So the reality that comes as a result of these issues that we have in Islamic banks, but these are also shared across the conventional banks. So economic theory that we have and the following in that sense create this equality doesn't solve problem. And here we are not don't look as they are looking at the games. It's about accessing to resources, because that is the message that I'm trying to portray here. If I'm giving equity, so which means that guy who makes the main contribution, he doesn't get anything, that will not also work. Reality is much bitterly, as you have all know, because even the Piketty book, which was published about 1%, and this is the reality, this tall one reality is that the tall person, we don't even see him because these are the hidden ones. They get most of the benefit because with using the financial power that they have, of course they can have accesses to everything. Reality is this. And then who have something, these are the middle people who can survive and manage the life, but the right guy, middle one, is even deeply buried. He or she cannot even access it to resources. And that's why we need to think about microfinances, we need to think about other ways to support them. But ethics or axioms of Islam will mean liberation. That this you are not creating the structural impediments as a result of your social financial status in society. And that's the whole concept of Islamic economics and emergence from where it is coming. And therefore, conventional in order to respond to the challenges that they are facing, which also involves the environment, but also social inequalities that we have seen, governance issues and transitions, how to manage things and resources, broader sustainable. It's a fancy term, but we have that much more earlier than they came. And I will talk about a little bit later is about mizan, creating that balance, how much you can use it, but at the same time what you are using, you are not uh, endangering the people or the generation of your time, but also generation that will come. So the mizan that is mentioned in Surah Rahman is something that clearly capture it, but in its own unique way of ontology of Islam. What does that mean? We also taught within the neoclassical, but as well as Islamic current banking, that we constantly run to increase the growth, being more probative. We didn't open the bank to, for a charity purpose. It's to make the money. No one said that. Making money is a part and the parcel of doing the business, but the fundamental question is for what purpose? Because this is where we will see now Makasib. And the reality as well that you have seen in the UK, around the world, this is what we leave as a result of, we avoided interest, fine, but did we avoid the human implications of that, of the consumerism that brings as a result, so that we can see all this on the beaches. This is the impact of human beings. So we are the cause of this, but also we are the beneficiary of this disaster that we made. Hence, where is that religious? Yes, the conundrum of interest is bond, but then implications, what you are doing that transaction for, if that is creating, is unethical and problematic in itself, and hence this is what we are raising the question. So the question of essence then, which we are coming here in discussion, and this is something that is quite becoming popular. You have a Eurocentric modernist ontology, which I was referring, but where is that Islamic ontology? If you just want to narrow it towards me in banning the interest, but then you are not delivering the essence and the substance of Islam, which I would like to see. Uh, and hence, the question is, which I like this exercise. What is the 5 greater than the 4? So I have a transaction which will give me like return 5. Of course, I'm gonna go for that, and it doesn't have interest. But then transaction which will also have ethics, which will prevent those uh, traces that we left on the beaches. Now, which one you? So this is the logic now of essence, what we should endorse in that sense. And hence, it brings us into Islamic economics as a theory that we started with in 1960s, 70s, but then we very quickly moved to the financialization, and we endorse and the following the neoclassical logic. Now it is a time, and I know there's a number of PhD master students from Indonesia who are working on these conceptual issues. Usually we don't know what we are following, and I'm really getting upset when I hear, oh, it is about, no interest, no haram productivities. What? That doesn't resolve the issues. Even the more famous guy from United States who passed away, the owner of the Apple, when he will start discussion about the product he sell, our underlying philosophy. He didn't say my engineers they created XYZ and it can resolve that. He said our underlying philosophy is to deliver the user-friendly products, sustainable, blah blah blah, and then engineer comes to deliver it. Allah has provided for us that ontology, and this is the philosophy of Islam or Islamic economy, this tawhidi nature. But then banks, takaful, microfinance, zakat, social financing, what name it, the role is to deliver that philosophy. And if we fail it, yes, we can improve. That's why we constantly have the new phones, new computers, because they are based on that philosophy. They are constantly even improving the gadgets, and it's possible because this is the human-made nature. Same things, the banks, financial institution of Islam should deliver that philosophy, not trying to be pragmatic. Oh, we avoided riba and hence we are fine. But the ethics failed here, which are absolutely big issues that we are concerned here. And anyway, I don't want to spend too much on the theoretical part because I'm becoming aware of the time. But I want to bring you to the something which we call it Islamic economics, or we call it Islamic moral economy. As you can see, just to give you hints, these are the axioms: Tawheed, unitarity, vertical equality, and horizontal adl wal ihsan, social justice. How come if I am in a certain place that somebody who is son of the king or the queen or a royal family in Saudi Arabia and you are from wherever you are discriminated on that? Islam did not prescribe that. So social justice is a big issue. Harmony, you can't create the harmony. Why is zakat? Is to create the harmony. You're sharing, you're giving from your shares to the others to create that harmony. Purification, rububiyah, and so on. Just to name it, there are many others. And something that I will also highlight it, these are all positive, I call it axioms. But guys, on the same token, you have counter negative part in Islam. So Tawheed is a kufr, so it's a negative one. And you can also, Da'wah wal Ihsan is a social justice, but also Zulm is opposite of that, and Islam clearly highlights it. Now we did not work on that part, how we are working between these two philosophical understanding, because it provides you the utopia, but also it provides you negative one that you shouldn't even go close. Now we are definitely fluctuating between these two sides. Closer to this positive one, we are much more to increase what I will call it our Islamic utility, or we'll call it maruf. And at the same time, going on that side, you are increasing your negative utopia, which I will call it munker. And hence, the success and delivering that, even institutionally setting, is something that we are assuming here. Financial, most important part of this is, guys, that I'm coming to the Makasir Sharia as okay, they're all Sharia rules, but you want to put it pragmatically into something that could be measurable, it could be seen and observed, and in that sense, most commonly now accepted ethical framework for Islamic financial system, which endorse or encapsulate all this axiomatic perspective that we were discussing, are embedded in Makasir Sharia. And I will just go quickly to the Makasir Sharia. I will skip this. This is the one that we use. It's a Najjar's one, which is based on the four axes, eight corollaries, which means each of these, when you are safeguarding, because it's coming from punishment law in Islam, Makasir, this is the source from Sharia point. So you want to protect the faith. Also, you want to protect human rights. And they didn't use the word in the past, human rights, but dignity of the life, honor as well. It comes under these assumptions. Anyway, so you want to put it now ontologically Islam, and then you want to measure it. Hence, we created this uh, measurement or index. Was popular 5 6 years ago, but now indexes are not really popular. But you try systematically to organize operation of the banks, financial institutions in relations to these four criteria, looking into indicators that you will usually find in the annual reports, but also elements which will classify this, and then you are leading to the face index. And now each of these indexes is individually, then you are combine them into the sub indices, which are called co- uh, corollaries, and then from corollaries we are going to the these four main, which collectively feed into the one measurement of how much you are performed. And very quickly, these are the indicators. We're not going to go there. 141, which we are looking into the annual reports. Methodologically we can skip it, but because also it's, but the main part that I want to share with you here, these are the banks from selected countries, 33 countries, and we look at their performance in every year. And you can see the Jordanian banks, they outperform other banks in terms of the Makasir performance. And look, guys, it is very much based on disclosure. Practically could be even further developed so that you are capturing the reality of the situation. Because I will now show you other side of this very shortly. I'm aware of time. So the Jordan, Indonesia, you guys are on the second place in terms of the Makasir performance, comparing UK. highly developed financial institutions. But look, performance of Maqasid is absolutely zero. It's absolutely discouraging. And then you can combine it how that goes on the country level further, and this is just visualization. In addition to this, we went to more advanced techniques of looking which are the vectors or are more influencing the performance of Islam of Maqasid. So if you are in the country which has common law or civil law or Sharia law, which of these will have more impact on Sharia or the Muslim population ratio? And other factors, the governance structure, financial development in the country, HDI, GDP per capita as well. We look at it whether the growth of the society has implication on Islamic banks and so on. And that brings us to the second part, and I will be very quickly, I'm aware of time, testing the development impact of Islamic bank. So now, yes, there is an ethical side which have seen that is not performing or delivering quite well on that side. But then I want to see, okay, what are the implications on the ground? How much that translate into the development itself? So the ontology of development is again now Maqasid, but on the implications in terms of developmentalism. And in this study, we are using quite for hypothesis, but mainly going into the classical sources, not classical, but I will say post-colonial sources, founding fathers from the subcontinent, where they say, okay, the whole purposes of Islam is to create the impact, to create quality of my life, human-centered development. So that is our first, and also distributional justice, where we use the Gini. And I know Gini is a Eurocentric concept. That is absolutely fine, but that is only what I have it to use it. The other one was HDI, and both of these, HDI and Gini, we also look at level of education. If you are investing on education, how that will translate in decreasing inequality and also increasing the HDI performance. Also, we look at the government expenditure on the health. And also we compare it with the conventional banks and finance, how whether they are better doing than Islamic in that sense in the sample countries. So this is the quick one. These are our I think I used the old data. There is a new one which we use also the conventional, but this is just Islamic. And this is the reality that I want to bring. This is the data. You can see how that you have constantly increasing things, expenditure on health, HDI. But the one that going down is education. That you are not putting more money in education. That was really interesting across the all sample countries, because yes, the GDP growing, and yes, you're going upwards, but education you are still spending same amount or in that size, and hence that's why it's downsloping in this case. Now we run number of tests mainly to see how the implication. These are the just quick regressions. So basic OLS regression with FEM, REM, and cluster errors actually shows you that there is no impact of any of I mean, and in this case I'm talking about Islamic finance assets, because these are my operational tool that I'm expecting to deliver expectation of Islamic economics, and in this case I'm referring to the impact side. Whereas education has a positive impact, and also and this is probably the main factor in reducing the inequality. So yes, overall educational level, focusing on that will translate it. And when we did the RDL analysis, long and short term, that also proved, but it also showed that on the long run, Islamic finance might have some implications on and hence, that brings us to the story how we can conceptualize the ethics and also the ontology of Islam, as well implications of that by considering creating something that is more relevant to Islamic ontology, and this is what we call it mizan. And you know that it's a very quite well said. The most merciful taught the Quran, created humankind, taught him eloquence. The sun and the moon in the precise calculation, and the stars and the trees prostrate, and so on. So it's a balance that you want to create. Allah created everything in balance, resources, air, water. So any kind of attack from the economics, from any perspective on those will create disturbances. When we touch the environment, this is the implication. We have now earthquakes, we have heats, we have droughts, we have. These are the implications when we touch the balance. And hence, that was a response from sustainable development. Okay, how we can now control the giant elephant because it's becoming problematic, because you want to consume, you want to utilize resources, but then that has other implications. Islam in its own perspective create that space, but we just need to further theorize so that could be translated into real observable, and hence poverty as well. It is a right of society. We have a tools. Hence, when you have a poverty that lead into other, this is denial of rights of the others. If you don't deliver this zakat, if you don't give sadaqah, if you don't, that is also you are disturbing the mizan that Allah put it. That's why not giving zakat is not that I'm giving for my own goodness. It's their rights, and if you are not, you are disturbing that. Mizan, other environment crisis, social crisis of each others. You probably have witnessed it as well, what was happening in Syria in the last 14 years in creating the disturbances of the rights of the people. Economic crisis, factors of production, human rights, and so on is something that we should keep that in mind. Hence, we could achieve that or articulate it just taking that philosophical equation and then work within that structure. And hence, we can summarize the really what we mean by what is a sustainable development from Islamic perspective. What it is I always like to refer to the Ibn Khaldun from the 15th century, that he says the strength of the sovereign or mulk does not become consumed except by implementation of Sharia. And it does not mean implementation of or avoiding the interest or riba. It means Sharia as a way of life, because that's the reference of Sharia in Quran. Sharia cannot be implemented except by solid, but you need a state to actualize it so that people will follow it. And solid cannot gain strength except through the people, but you need also people who are the one who will deliver that, because the banks are not run by themselves. They are the people who run them. Uh, and the people cannot be sustained except by wealth. So you need to work. We need the Imran. We need the development to happen. And wealth cannot be acquired except through development, which is Imran. So you need to have a real. So tawarruk and all unethical aspects of the financial activities which create the wealth out of the uh, uh, money or fiat money, no real activity, is a problematic because it does not create it does not create the better roads, houses, and so on. And development cannot be attained except through the justice. So the measurement of all this within the framework of Islam or mizan is adult that to be actualized. And the justice is something that we will be measured. So taking the axioms, positive axioms on the left side, if we are having, and the negative one on the other side. So that is a mizan that you are trying to constantly go to that price so that you can go away from injustice. And that's where we are, because justice is laid down in those positive axioms to be implemented, and hence Sorin is in charge, is responsible of actualizing the justice. And hence I will stop here, because I think I can go on, but I think the time is the issue.
Thank you very much, Bro, for your presentation. That was a truly insightful presentation. We already have so many questions here.
So
Yeah,
I will stop sharing, then we can have proper discussion.
Okay, thank you. So, Professor Alia, before we start to the question and answer sessions, I would like to answer a little bit, maybe just for discussion. We know that with the unexpected challenges such as economic crisis, political instability, and also other disruptions, what do you think is the role of morality and ethics in shaping the future of Islamic finance and its impact on sustainable development?
I mean, the whole discussion that I was trying to portray that the essence to do something is ground philosophy, and I will call that Islamic moral economy. But then within that Islamic moral economy, you need to have an ethical side which needs to drive that philosophy. And that was my assumption. So I try to share with you two papers which are based on those philosophies. And they are absolutely, philosophy is something that I am looking to know what I'm doing. So Islamic moral economy is all about consequences that you are creating. And that provide the analytical tool for Sharia scholars so they can derive the judgment. If I want to create something, if I need to create fatwa, legal Sharia verdict on something, well, about medical things, but I'm not medical expert. Where I will go to ask about it, I will go ask doctors and they will provide their opinions. And if I ask more doctors, probably they will not have a unified opinion, but you will get a roughly idea and then you can make the judgment. When we are talking about issues of finance, economics, poverty, whole equation of mizan, keeping that balance, who you will ask? You will ask trained bankers who are trained to just focus on that institutional logic of wealth accumulation, or you will gonna ask neoclassical economics who are trained about supply and demand and other things. Where is that part that you really need to create the verdict which suits with Islamic logic? And I know if we didn't have that 100 years ago because we were working within the fiqh muamalat, which was based on completely different expectations. And if I want to put it methodologically, guys, Islamic classical law is based on the two basic methodological assumptions. The first one is in kunta naqilan fasiha. If you are transmitting information, that is the Quran and Hadith, then you are looking into the chain of narrators. That is a sound and healthy. The second one is in kunta muddayan. If you are making the claim, but we are looking into dalil, evidence. In the past, the only two evidence that we have were iltizam, correlation. Minaret is a sign that there are Muslims in the village, but can you say all villages are Muslim? No, that will be weak correlation. That is a classical fiqh, guys. And also qiyas analogy. Now, I have certified experts. I have now interviews. I have a questionnaires. I have econometrics. I have statistics. How that will fit into methodology of classical fiqh? It doesn't fit at all. So now the role of economics or economist is to provide the guidelines so that the Sharia can derive the adequate fiqh rulings. But now, where is the ethics part, which is your relevant questions? So how much that will shape morality of individuals so that we become, so that we create the consequences that we would like to see as in the past. To Indonesia, no ever Muslim army ever reached, guys, through the transactions and the trade. Indonesia is now largest Muslim country. How? Because of the ethical side that was capturing the minds and the hearts of that, and not because they were saying, oh, we are avoiding the interest and hence we are mashallah people. There must be something beyond. And these are the discussions that I think we should clearly highlight. And for future, I always refer to the concept of China. China was very good in last 60, 70 years to actually copy everything from the West in terms of the technology, but now they start to innovate. They're becoming even better. And I think this is our circle. We copied, we mimicked, we replicated, we halalized every single product in the conventional finance. And I think it's the next stage will be most probably innovation. And we need to liberate ourselves from endorsing the Eurocentric, and I mean Europeans, institutional setting and halalizing and say maybe Islam can think. Look at the peer-to-peer borrowing which was done through the digital economy platforms. is much more fits Islamic criteria. So I think now innovation with emergence of digitalization, AI, and other things that we will be able to come with our unique stamp, which will we can share it with the rest of the world. And that is just my vision.
Thank you very much, Prof. Ali, for the explanation. So, Dr. Media and Prof. Ali, I think it's the perfect time to move into our Q&A session. We have received a lot of questions in the chat, but we're also still waiting for the audience to willingly raise their hand and ask directly to Prof. Ali and also Dr. Media. Yeah, it's great appreciation to Dr. Media who willingly answer some of the questions in the chat box. So let me read one of the question here. So the question is about when discussing sustainable development goals, climate actions contribute to the achievement of multi-SDG objectives, including environmental protections, reduce poverty and equality. How Professor Ali and Dr. Media see the progress of Islamic finance industry in addressing climate risks globally? And has it effectively translated the Islamic principles to concrete climate actions? And also, has it unlocked its potential in providing alternative financing instruments such as through green sukuk and also Islamic social instruments? So, Professor Ali and also Dr. Media can both answer the question.
Media, you start. I've been talking for half an hour.
uh, Thank you, Mbak. Happy. Allow me to start and my answer with a follow-up discussion from Professor Ali presentation. I've learned a lot from your presentation, Prof. Ali, and I think this is something that we need to discuss even more depth, yeah, especially in the context of Indonesia, because at the moment there is a strong debate about to what extent modern economies provide solution compared to the Islamic finance solution. And one of the interesting part right now is that modern economies like Thomas Piketty, Gabriel Zuckman, they've been advocating for 2% wealth tax on billionaire to reduce global inequality, while Islam introduced the concept of wealth redistribution through zakat mal 2.5%, right, over 1,400 years ago. So this is the proof that the Islamic economic system was to some extent far ahead in addressing wealth disparity. What I would like to emphasize at the moment is about how the morale of the Islamic finance is very strong. I mean, in the context of reducing inequality, because when we talk about inequality and we need money to address that, and zakat mal talk about uh, faith-driven obligation, right, rather than compliance aspect. And this is another interesting discussion right now. Even if the government promote wealth tax, people will see it as a compliance things. So they might try to find the legal loopholes. While for if the government try to promote more discussion on zakat mal, of how zakat mal reduce inequality, we talk about moral. Zakat mal encourage about local solution, builds social solidarity, and we talk about zakat is the ethics, is the moral in order to reduce poverty and inequality. And this is something that I think very interesting, because I'm not really depth into the Islamic finance research, Prof. Ali, But I would like to learn more about this aspect of how Islamic finance can reduce inequality apart from the effort to promote wealth, tax wealth, for the country like Indonesia. And I think for the question, yeah, when we talk about climate, we talk about strengthening environmental commitment, green sukuk expansion. I think this is a great initiatives, but we know that it's not really answer the significant problem, and we need to enhance governance framework as well and strengthen the competitive position against conventional finance. And I think for this question, I'd rather try to promote the solution of how we can create impact measurement tools. So we can see that and promoting uh, Islamic finance to some extent indeed create a more competitive uh, impact for the society related to the climate change and climate finance. I think that's all from my side, Pak Happy. I think Prof. Ali is more fit to answer the question about this. Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm more fit, but I would just say we all have our own, you know, uh, angle from which we discuss the issues. So I agree whatever you said, and also just added that recently we work on a paper which relates to the circular economy. So how we can use it, and then from the usage to the back to the earth, and then use it again. And it's about water, because one of the issues that we are expecting in next 50 years, not 50 actually, by 2050 they say the European Union will have a problem with the water, even though they are rich with the water, but they will have a problem because of consumerism, because what you have seen on the beach, those goes to the sea and then goes back to the ozone and goes back to the earth, and hence the water is becoming really not usable. And that's not surprisingly that most of the mutual funds in the United States are focusing on the water, uh, because that's what they're expecting. That will be one of the main commodity in the future to work on. Now, when it comes to Islamic finance, my problem again is with Islamic finance. And by the way, this study is very empirical, where we are looking into using the Islamicity index, which country, based on the Islamicity, which includes the axioms of Islam, does better. And of course, in that performance, in most of the European or Western and American countries are more Islamic than many Middle East countries, because we are looking not on the um, dress code or the image of Islam. We are looking into the substance, meaning of the words, how they translate in the daily life. And then you see in the water circularity and the performance using the Kuznets curve that you are going into negatively, that yes, you are consuming more water, but you are actually polluting less. Whereas in the most Muslim countries, because we're still trying to keep with the growth, we are, yes, extracting a lot of water, but also that we are also polluting much more than others. And that is the issues. Now, that also brings Islamic finance and tools that we are not following that from our own agenda, that this is something should be embedded within the Islamic finance, because your whole mission is to create a better quality of the life, not to create better return on the shareholders, which absolutely is a fine and legal. But the issue which we are facing here, that we narrowed ourselves, that we become like a neoclassical. Oh, let's respond. So we'll create the green sukuk. Okay, and then what? So these are the debates. There is a lot of work is going on, and this is also very interesting area, guys, for the research. Islam has a lot to offer. That Mizan concept could be really developed into practical steps. This is just to show you that there is a hope. We have it, but it needs to translate into real actions. Unfortunately, Islamic banks and financial institutions, they are not really keen on Nizam as a whole concept. They will just follow the neoclassic. Oh, there is a green sukuk, let's halalize them, regardless what are the implications and expectations of that as a result in the future.
Thank you very much, Dr. Media, and also Prof. Ali for the explanation. So, with all this discussion, so it becomes evidence, right, that Islamic finance has the potential to play a greater role in creating a more just and also inclusive economy. So we move on to the next question. But this question is actually has been answered by Dr. Media, but I would like to know from Prof. Alia point of view. It's about zakat now. What do you think about zakat now, which is only 2.5% being able to reduce poverty, while so far we have paid 11% in taxes, and the majority of Muslims also pay 2.5% for zakat now. Yet the poverty rates also remain high. What do you think, Prof?
Okay, as I have a PhD student in Dundee. Probably some of you might know him, Muslim Anshuri. He's from the Ministry of Finance of Indonesia and from the tax department, and he works on possibility of integrating zakat into tax system, fiscal policy. And it's a big topic, guys, because the issue of finding the matrix and calculation is not easy because taxes on your income. So whatever you earn, they will take certain percentage and that's it. But how I'm gonna know when your money is taxable because you need to enter into threshold and then it's becoming zakat. So this is where we are discussing the issues. Of course, zakat has its own categories which are very much socially welfare oriented. Government collects the money for other things as well, building the roads, infrastructure, and things that zakat it doesn't. It's mainly for that's why we should not confuse that. Also, running the administration and the government today is quite much bigger. Zakat pays for health and the education building that all wasn't part, guys. So that's building the roads, bridges, army, these are the things that are really huge cost. In Indonesia is 11%, in the UK is 21, and if you earn more you go even to 40%, so that's quite high. But regardless, zakat as a tool, uh, I think where is the issue with the zakat, that it was left to the charities and the organization. It's not institutionalized so that we can have holistic approach in terms of the data, the poverty, how many people, and what you need. So we are now doing that ad hoc. I can see that in my own country, in Bosnia, Islamic community collect the money, so all villages and others brings the money, and it goes to the capital. How they will know in the capital who is on the 100 miles away will know there's somebody XYZ, he or she is a poor and they need help and so on. Because you don't have a data, it's not institutionalized in a way that it could serve the purpose of resolving the issues which what zakat is meant to create the harmony, to create the social solidarity, to but also empowerment as well. Is zakat means that I help you to the way that you become one day zakat donor. That's the whole purpose, which we are now failing because I see you give them 50 pounds, $50. What are they gonna do with that? They will consume it and then they still stay in the poverty. And I think there is a huge potential. Government, they are not, after the post-colonial period, when the Muslim nation states emerged, they were obsessed with endorsing the capitalist and the socialist structures which follow the income tax, and zakat has been left to the voluntarily. It's not, no government in the world has charged recently zakat as a part of their fiscal policy or their policy. It's really left to the organizations, Islamic communities or whatever.
Thank you very much, Prof, for the explanation, and also Dr. Media for answering the questions. So we eagerly encourage the audience here to directly ask the question. So we have Mbak Hairuni Salahaji here. Maybe you can directly ask questions to our both speakers.
Uh, Sorry, I can open camera.
Oh, it's okay.
Okay, okay.
Just go with the question.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, Prof. Alia and Mr. Media. So basically, my question is all about the condition today related to refugee and immigrant situation. Like we know that it's a highly crucial today. On the other hand, we also have like an option in financial, but I don't know how it will be in terms of how they react, how they reach the financial support in terms of, for example, like even when they need to move to other region, they need to take for about like years, like 2 3 years, just to be another, just to have another nationality. I mean, like, is it possible for Islamic finance institutions to have like manage their risk management some maybe, or maybe they will reduce their security system so they can reach these people, like this community, so it will be much more inclusive for them. What do you think about this phenomenon thing? Thank you so much.
Yes, Prof and Dr. Media, you can directly answer the question.
Shall I start or you start, Media? It's up to you.
Ah, right. So I think this is a very important and interesting question that we need to answer. But I don't. Uh, I've learned and I've collected enough evidence to support my idea right now. But I still can see how the financial institution in Indonesia support refugees access to finance. And we've seen in many media about how the communities and religious based support really happen, while for example Indonesian civil society, religious organizations, they help refugees through donations and charity programs, for example. And I think Islamic finance, we know that zakat, wakaf, Islamic microfinance can be the solution, but it's not easy. I know there is legal barriers, for example, related to the work permits. So they might not really find it easier to access financial support. We also need for policy reform, I guess, expand the Islamic finance initiative and create a sustainable solution in this case. Yeah, I think that's all from my side. Maybe Prof. Ali can add.
I can add something from the UK. Last few years, and we're still working on the project called Invisible Ceiling for Migrant Entrepreneurs. That's called why me as a Muslim coming from XYZ country to the UK, what is the reason that I can't be big company? What are the impediments, structural, that I will face? I might face the issue of language, lack of the knowledge of rules and regulations, but at the bottom line, what was your question is actually lack of the financial resources, because usually startups are based on family or private saving that you will have and you will put it into the business. But there is a crucial point when you need to scale up, that you need the financial institutions, you need the government, you need the organizations to support you. Yes, if you don't care about religion, you will find those. But the moment you want to have your Islamic things, these are the structural, what we call invisible ceiling. Yes, on the surface there are institutions, but in reality they are not for you. So what is the point? And on back of that, Islamic Relief came and they asked to have medium small enterprise loans for the Muslim in the post-COVID period, but somehow trustees and management they rejected that idea. So still, and the banks usually will not give you much, even if you are startups who are refugee status, you will not get anything from Islamic Bank at all. And that's why I think it's more now digital economy platforms, peer to peer, other ways that we can crowdfinancing, angel investors that are much more. But that still needs the technology needs to develop that we could work and to tackle that. But also that will require literacy to be reduced in the technology and but also the language. You know, some people, some businesses I meet from Pakistan, from India, from Middle East, you know, English is still big issues. They know the business, they know how to do, and they're doing good job. But language and now filling the lengthy forms and going and doing the applications and showing the full tax and things. This is not the part of our culture, and hence there is still lots to be done. And I think probably the other institutions, not banks, will be more suitable to deliver those expectations.
Well, that was a big homework for us. Okay, we move on to the next question. Maybe I would like to invite Astrid, Fiona. I'm sure she has answer. She has questions.
Uh, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Professor Ali, Dr. Media, for such enlightening discussions this morning. Um, I would like to know, so I've read a current study that revealed that in accomplishing the ESG objective, so Islamic finance has effectively accomplished the social aspects only, while leaving the environmental and also the governance goals underperformed. How does it relates with Professor Ali's studies in because you have studied about the Maqasid Sharia performance of the Islamic banking? How does it relate, and what are the outperforming indicators that distinguish the Islamic banking from its conventional counterparts? And perhaps what are the lessons learned to improve this condition so that the Islamic finance industry can achieve the maslahah mizan as embedded in the Maqasid Sharia. And Professor Ali, it's interesting that you mentioned about that the industry is still mimicking the counterpart, the conventional counterparts. I mean, it still applies the neoclassical concepts. So, do you think that perhaps the policymakers has a bigger role? I mean, to lead that, to reshape that the industry toward the sustainable development goals? I think that's all. Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Astrid. It's good to see you as well. And
Good to see you.
we are on the same page on this. You know, your Maqasid paper was the foundation that we worked later on ethics. But when you talk about ESG, recently I worked on the project for the United Nations. So how we can develop the ESG course for EDEX platform for industry, and you need to see the battles because this is organized by United Nations. I am as academic, I'm writing the manuscript. The bank provides the finance, but Islamic Development Bank from Saudi, they are the main body which will host the modules. Now we have two sides. You have very much pragmatic one, which you refer, these are the bankers, and then you have academic side, and then you have United Nations between us to actually manage it. Now, the initial idea is what I was trying to say, how we can translate Mizan and other concept into matrices, because what will refer to you ESG in Islamic banks? My question is very simple to them, because ESG ecology, fine. We know what does mean that you are reducing the carbon dioxide, this and that, investing in those circular economy and everything that relates to environment. You can create the matrices that you as a bank doing, whether it's internally in your operations, but also most importantly on your asset size, what you are giving. And that was my approach to that. But the foundation of that or underlying features, as we did in Maqasid, we use the Islamic narratives. So you are defining the things where they are coming from because that Islamic needs to translate into something. The second was, as you said, social. This is the big issues. The moment you mention the human rights, yes, it's a Eurocentric, but I'm gonna go to now to the concept of honor, art, and other things. Then again, they don't accept that because, and if you say that your staff is underpaid, because this is one of the measurement of the human rights in this context, the bankers immediately say, "Oh, we want pragmatic." But what does mean the pragmatic realistically? And how you are discriminating people on Makassar, for example. One of the criteria is as the number of the children increases, your chances to get the loan decreases. Why? Because you will fail on the sustainability matrix. But this is immediately against of the Makassar, and hence it's against of the social element or social entity in this case. Now the next one comes, as you said, the governance. Who is a dual CEO reality, how many profile of these people, just name it. Now you need that, okay, because you are using the Eurocentric structure of ESG, but then the elements you need to redefine them based on Islamic narrative. This is what was the main issues. And at the end, when we were trying to show, okay, they wanted some examples, so we'll show them the performances, there's the matrices, but this is what they reject. So we are still on the battle because there is no unified way of defining what means ESG in Islam. It's something that is a sustainable development on the macro level, but to localize it within the institutions, or in this case is the banks, is something that comes from other. I have a student from the Central Bank of Indonesia. We use the GRI standards and we map them to Maqasid. But it also, and then we can see how the country level does in terms of ESG and then compare with bank. And then you can see they are not correlated. You can see that banks are doing much less or the government is doing much more. So there is still discrepancies as a result of that because we are also lost what you are what because we don't agree on that what will include as governance part to identify it. If I'm going to the economic narratives of Islam on the past, bankers, oh, but that is like utopian, unrealistic. We want more pragmatic approach. When you go to pragmatic, but then you feel fit into purely neoclassical understanding because then you don't bring anything unique, and hence that is another the debate, the issues that why I'm measuring something Islamic in this case with non-Islamic measurement. It just doesn't work. So these are the debates that, as you probably also work on these things, we are still fighting the industry because, unfortunately, as a result of the development of financial institutions, financial industry is a driving force, is more pragmatic instead of the philosophy. As I said, I use the phone, the concept of the phone in the Apple when the Steve Jobs used to say our underlying features. I remember it is a simplicity for a users, friendly, environmentally recyclable, blah blah blah. And then engineer comes to deliver it, but they every day improve it. So you have a constantly trying to deliver that utopian, philosophy through the engineering and structure. But we come with Islamic banks, we want to produce halal bank with interest free. So where are those utopian things? Because every single bank is doing that now. So you already achieve it at highest level. So then ESG is just you are trying to put additional filter as a neoclassical is doing, without we are setting our grand expectation, whatever they are in terms of axioms, but then we are expecting constantly and we are, judging the institution, oh, you are still far away from that utopia. And you might not never reach it because that's the whole idea. Because you are, the concept of Islah in Islam is not stopping, it's continuously happening. And hence, that's probably will be our my measure. Set up these goals, measure the banks, but expect the Islah to be implemented. This is the policy that you were referring. So the Islah policy means that you're constantly trying to deliver that utopia, but you might never reach it. Sorry, guys, I can talk about. I'm emotional about this. I can talk for long.
Thank you very much, Prof. Ali. And also thank you very much, Master, for the questions. Once again, thank you very much, Prof. Ali, and also Dr. Media. We are looking forward to collaboration in the future.
Inshallah. You're most welcome, guys. We are in Dundee, but also Durham. Both places are you're welcome. Uh, and we can collaborate. And also, anyone is interesting to join the club. Dundee, I think, has now agreement with Ministry of Religion.
Yes.
So any students who come from the through the Mora, they have special now arrangement for Indonesian students.
Wow, that's
A
nice.
special treatment is given to the Indonesians. So,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah,
have to
definitely.
really give you credit, guys. Most common or recent development in Islamic economics, finance, theoretically and empirically, is really coming from your side. In the past, was from the subcontinent, yes, Pakistan, India, but now it's absolutely Indonesia.
Wow, that's a great
No, no,
opportunity.
honestly, that,
Yeah.
this is my observations because you don't find much. I've been in Pakistan and I have seen it morely locked into the banking and finance to provide those solutions, but that theoretical grandism, which comes from the technocrat perspective, is still missing, or it's lost probably in the last 20, 30 years.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Prof. So I think that becomes the closure of our Q&A sessions. Great apologize for the audience. We cannot deliver all your questions. Yet you can still get in touch with us through our social media, and we'll also give you the full slides and materials of today's event later on. As we come to the end of this insightful discussion, we have explored the profound intersection of moral values, ethics, and economics in shaping sustainable development through Islamic finance. So, our speakers have highlighted how Islamic finance serve not just as an economic system, but as a means to promote social justice, ethical governance, and also an environmental sustainability from theoretical foundation to the real world application. So we've seen how these principles can drive meaningful change in the global financial landscape. So to formally close our session, we would like to invite Dr. Media to share his closing statement.
Yeah, I've learned a lot from today's discussion. My research is not about Islamic finance, but mostly on tax justice and conventional economic system. But as we can see today, there is a huge opportunity that we can uh, reduce inequality and poverty while uh, seeing the significant part of the Islamic finance. And as I said previously, inequality remains a major challenge for Indonesia. And to address this, we need for effective wealth redistribution mechanisms such as wealth tax. But uh, we know that zakat mal system already provides a structured way to redistribute wealth and support those in need. So I think the key is not just to implement a zakat mal, but to optimize its collection and distribution. So I believe that zakat mal can serve as a powerful tool to bridge the wealth gap, uh, reduce poverty in Indonesia, and we don't really need to follow the global economies while they say that okay, wealth tax 2% still far away to implement that things. while in fact we already have a zakat mal system in the communities. So I think we need to work together on this to find a more just and balanced economic system by ensuring a fair wealth distribution so that we can truly reduce poverty and create a better society where prosperity is shared by all. I think that's all. Thank you, Prof. Ali,
Thank you, guys.
uh,
It was lovely to
for
see you and catch
having.
up with.
Thank you, Dr. Media, for your valuable insights. Now we would like to invite Professor Ali Aftikic to share his final thoughts before we wrap up today's
No,
show.
just want to thank you for everything. And I just was while we are talking there was a question how we can integrate Islam zakat into Indonesia as a non-Muslim country in the sense of the state and the. I mean, the same question applies to be honest with you for Saudi Arabia as well. Constitutionally is Islamic, but it's in the all laws are non-Islamic. So the question is not about that. And I said I have a student from ministry. That's the whole idea. You know, you need to identify yourself that you are the zakat payer, but then calculation is still what we are struggling to find a way how to do. And also, it's not. To do that, guys, you also need to understand there's the institution of Islam, like Ministry of Religion and things, and also you have a institution of the finance and the government. So, and I think this is what is something that I really would like you to all to think. Nowadays, Islamic things are very much based on the ideology. So you have something from the past, Prophet time, the Umayyad, Abbasid, Ottoman dynasty. These are the main dynasties. Then we have a Islamic law which become dormant for 60 years. Now we have a nation states and everything new that emerged, we relate to the past. So you need the confirmation from the past. But that past has nothing to do with the present. And hence, that put us in very much ideological positioning. Either you are, if you are trying to keep the status quo from the past, you are fundamentalist, traditionalist. If you want to follow the modern path, whatever the modern society, then you become apologetic modernist or secularist. So where we are as a Muslim that says our past is our past, we are proud, we need to look at it as a part of the literature review. That's how they used to resolve the issues through the centuries, but based on the techniques and things that we have, how we could make our own present. But also we don't compromise. So Islam is still driving force, but we find the institutions, laws, regulations that will make better tomorrow for all of us. And that will be my end. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Prof. It's such an honor to have you. Once again, thank you very much to Dr. Media and also Professor Alia for the valuable insights and to all participants for your engaging questions and also discussion. As a token of our appreciation for your valuable contributions to this event, we would like to present a certificate of appreciation to Dr. Media and also Prof. Alia. Before we proceed, perhaps you can take a pictures with the
Oh, yes,
certificate
that's a
first.
good one.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And the next one, Professor Alia. Okay. So
Perfect. But you
one,
can
two.
send me the PDF, it will be really nice. So I can
Yeah,
check.
sure, sure. We will send you. 1, 2, 3. Okay,
Done.
great. Thank you. So with that, let me close this session with doa. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika asyhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. I will hand it back to Mas Ridwan. Thank you everyone. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you very much, Prof. Ali, Dr. Media, and Mbak Happy for bringing us a very productive session. And before we move on, I would like to deliver the certificate of appreciation for our moderator. So for Mbak Happy Febrina Haryani, please accept our certification. And thank you for leading this insightful session. Could you please take a picture also for Mbak Happy? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So before we close, I'd like to share some announcement for the participants. So first, you need to fulfill the evaluation form to claim the certificates. The link will be provided in the chat box. So please make sure that you already fulfill the evaluation form. because if you don't do so, you will not get the certificates. And we also remind you to follow our official Instagram account at EIE_UK to update for our next webinar series, workshop, and any other events that we will do. Once again, you can share your stories of today's event to win the giveaway. And don't forget to take our Instagram account and do it as soon as possible. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end. To conclude this session, let us say Hamdalah. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Yes. So on behalf of the committee of EIA UK, I would like to say thank you for your active participation today and have a great rest of your day. And please stay tuned for the EIA UK events and see you in the near future. I'm Muhammad Yusuf Ridwan signing off. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much. See
Thank
you
you.
again.
Very
Thank
much,
you.
Prof. Ali, Dr. Media. Thank you very much.
Prof. Ali, thank you.
Recording stopped.